All right, good afternoon, everyone. It's 2 p.m. on my clock. Welcome to today's webinar. Today is Matching Grant Fund Contracts and Finance. And as you can all see, our microphones are closed and will remain closed throughout the presentation. And then we are going to open our microphones so that we can talk and ask questions in the chat room as we go along. And thank you so much for joining today's webinar. And in the chat box, all your questions will be answered and even orally afterwards. So you can invite, and at this juncture, I would like you to introduce yourselves in the chat if you can, your name, your organization, and the country that you are in. This will enable us to answer your various questions better. And this is our sixth session. This morning, 10 a.m., we had our presentation led by our Senior Finance Manager, Mr. Hack. He explicitly gave detailed information in there. In this session, we are going to have more info, more insights on finance and contracts regarding Matching Grant Fund. And in the previous webinars, we've discussed a lot of terms, capacity building, the application processes, etc. And the links were put in the links of the websites were put in the chat box, as well as today's link is also going to put in the chat box. And just to keep you informed, this webinar is going to be recorded. And so if you're not really into the recording, I would humbly ask that you turn off your cameras and as well ask your questions in the chat box. Without much ado, I'm going to hand over to our expert who is going to give us more details in the contract and finance. She's an expert in this area. So without much ado, let me welcome our expert, Anya. Anya, over to you.
Thank you very much, Caleb, and thank you all today for listening into our webinar. As Caleb has said, we already had the same webinar this morning, just in French, and now we are continuing with the English version of it. And I'm very happy to see you all on the call today. Please feel free to answer any question in the chat until the presentation is finished, and afterwards we will also have a Q&A session. Yes. So this is all about the contracts that we're actually trying to establish and also the finances that we are looking at and what you can actually budget for and how. So just to give a quick overview of the agenda, we want to first talk about some contract specificities and then also about the contract format that we are primarily looking at. And then we want to show you the budget template at concept node stage, what you would actually have to hand in, but also give you an example of the supporting document that we will provide to you, which is a budget template that makes it hopefully easier for you to fill out the budget template in the concept node. After all of this, I want to give you some examples for the eligible cost. I know this is a lot of information and it will be a lot to digest in one meeting, but rest assured, first of all, we will record this meeting and all of this will be uploaded on the website so you can have easy access to the recording and also to review it again. And also the presentation will be shared there. And finally, there is a guideline uploaded that is the Annex 3 of all the annexes that we have that you can always go to if you have any questions, where everything is very detailed, explained. And so you don't have to worry. Every question you have, you can also try to find an answer there. But as you will see, we're here for you, so please don't hesitate and ask your questions also today. So first of all, we will start with the contract specificities and also to really ask yourself, is the matching grant fund the right call for you? Is it really for you to apply for? So what you should ask yourself before applying are the next 6 questions, basically. The first is, are you a registered private company? And are you looking to finance a project with a clear development objective? So this is, as you know, we are GIZ, we are working with public funds, so this whole project should have a development objective. Second of all, your project idea has also a direct development outcome and therefore a public benefit character. The benefit of your company, of course, is important as well. However, it should be a byproduct of this and not the main goal. This is, as stated before, reason because we are a public company, we deal with public money. So for us, this is not to distort the market or anything, but to rather support you in your development goals, ideas and projects. And with that, of course, your company can profit from it, but it should not be the main goal of the project. The next part is you should have the capacity to cover at least 50% of the funds for the cocoa, maize, and livestock value chain, and for the cashew value chain, at least 60% of the total funds of the contract value. So there you should be able to do that. So you should be able to basically survive without this project. This is an important part that we have to look at here. Next point is you do not want to directly and only support your company's core business with this funding opportunity. This goes in the same direction as the first 2 points. Then, very important part, as it is part of our eligibility criteria, you have to be based in an OACPS member state. The OACPS is the Organization of African, Caribbean, and Pacific States, and we can see in the internet and on our website a direct list of what the countries are that can benefit from this call. And finally, you have identified also a consortium partner with whom you would like to cooperate on this project. So we are very encouraging consortia to apply, meaning you have one lead applicant and also at least one consortium partner to work together, to collaborate, to also have a sustainable project idea here. Next would be the implementation, the contract format, so the so-called IDPP that we are looking at. This is a contract format that we would like to work with as we are cooperating with the private sector, as you know. So the IDPP in long form basically means it's an integrated development partnership with the private sector. So the private sector comes in here with their objective, and the development cooperation comes in with their objective. And together, we will find a joint objective for this project. So it is really a joint and formalized project between GIZ and at least one or more private companies. And this means it is really a cooperation between equal partners that pursue a shared goal together. All partners contribute in expertise, in kind inputs, and or with money. There are 2 different options that we have with an IDPP. One is a cooperation agreement that I want to inform you about, where there would be no money flow between the partners. So the partners co-implement, meaning GIZ would be responsible for one part and the partner would be responsible for the other part. However, our preferred option and what we are actually having this call for is the so-called implementation agreement. Here, GIZ actually provides the financial contribution to the private partner, whereas the private partner, so you, would really be responsible for the implementation, meaning it is your project that you will follow. You will have the whole responsibility, but we will come in, of course, with advice, with support, and also we will give a certain amount of funds to this project. So as I said, this is the preferred option for this call for contracts and proposals. And yes, as you can see here, this implementation agreement would mean that the company implements the project independently, so it really leads the project, and you are responsible to provide evidence of costs and inputs in the end. So the contributions of the private company can be in cash or in kind, for example, the staff for the project or also existing machines, where we come to later. And in the end, an external auditor needs to certify the cost. So there is a bit of conditions that are going into that, but I think you can all manage that one. So I'm really sure about that. So we look at the budget template for the concept note. This is what is actually in the concept note, and this is also at this current stage the only thing that you have to hand in regarding finance. Generally, you have to hand in a concept note, you have to hand in a letter of intent for the consortia, and you have to hand in a proof of legal registration. However, For finances, we give you the supporting document that I will show you in a bit that will support you, that you can hand in, but it's not a must. So just to make that clear. I will also show you later on the website where you can find all of this again. So this budget template is what you would need to fill, and I kindly ask you to please fill it in euros. This helps us to compare, even though the final contract will be drawn up in local currencies, for your information already. So the lead applicant contribution and the other consortium partner contribution should be at least together 50% of the contract value. And as I said before, 60% for cashew. And then GIZ will provide the other 50 or 40%. You can, of course, decide in these values, if you want to apply for, let's say, maize, and you want to cover 70% of the funds, that is completely fine. It's just that is a maximum of 50% on the GIZ side, or 40 for cashew. Each budget line will be shared by you and by us, meaning you can't sadly come in and say, okay, we will provide now all our stuff and all our machinery, but please GIZ take over the training costs. That sadly does not work. Everything will be shared, every risk will be shared, and also every opportunity that comes out of it. So this is really a joint project. This means, for example, let's say we have 55% of a private part between the lead and consortia and 54% public part from GIZ. And we just look at travel costs, for example. That means a total of travel cost of 10,000 euros, and the private share would be 5,500 euros and the public share 4,500. So the share would be really applied to each of the budget lines that you can see on the left. The budget categories are the applicant staff cost, the service provider and external expert cost, travel cost, equipment, other cost. And we have put the audits specifically because the audit is a requirement. For 18-month project lengths that we are looking at, we expect to have 2 audits, so they should be planned in the budget already. And then you can see the total cost. As I said, these shares apply to everything. And to help you a bit with doing that one, we have an example and we show you the supporting document, the budget template. So in our example, we would say, okay, we have a country of operation that would be, for example, Ghana, and a project value of 2 million cedis. The consortia share is, to make it easy, at 50%. As I said, the consortia share must be at least 50%, and all budget lines must be split according to the pre-agreed share. As I said before, and you can see it in red again because it is very important, every budget line has to be divided. It is not possible as GIZ pays fully for one budget line. We mark it in red because we have experienced a lot in the last call that this is something that partners would like to have, and we understand that fully, but sadly, in this setup, it is really budget line by budget line. And then if we now look at the working aid, you can see that you can download this working aid, which is an Excel template that you can fill. And to make it easier for you, you can calculate in your local currency, give the total project value and the consortia share, and then you simply fill all green cells in this one, and it automatically gives you the total shares that you can then copy into your concept node. Meaning you would fill here the lead applicant share, the other consortium partners share, then you have the total consortium share, which would be the first part that you would copy into the concept node. You go to the GIZ share, that would be the second part you copy, and then the total cost. And please, as I said, please remember to put the euro cost in the concept node because we really would like to compare. And just to show you quickly how this would look like when it is filled, we have the example I've just given you. So we have a total project value in Ghana cedis of 2 million. Then the consortia shares at 50%. I gave both of those infos, and I chose the currency here. All known currencies are in this table and will automatically be done if you just change them. So for example, we think now, okay, we don't want to look at the Ghana cedi, but rather at the Nigerian naira. We go here and everything changes automatically. So we stay with Ghana for now. You can see that everything is done. It is linked to a website, so it's also always at the current exchange rate. You don't have to worry that this will be another one. And then you just fill in your local currency what you plan. For example, you plan your own staff costs that are 200,000 cedis. You plan equipment. Your consortium is responsible also to give some staff to the project and maybe also some travel cost. You see this together gives 1 million cedis, which is approximately 59,000 euros. Then we have the same for GIZ, and in the end you see the total, and you would copy this part to the concept node. So to make it really easy for you, and yes, as I said, this is only for help. You don't have to use it. It will just help you, but you do not have to submit this one. You just, it's really for your own purpose and to just support you with it. But the submission will only be in the concept node. This will look different for the full proposal later on. However, there we're not yet. So for the concept node, it's just that one. Exactly. And now if we have talked about all of that, we will also come to the cost that you can actually put and you can actually account for in this project. So eligible costs. First of all, only direct costs are with no markups can be covered. So there's nothing extra that you can put there. There are no, I don't know, nothing extra that is not a direct cost that we can account for with the receipt, basically. This is the most important part. The cost also need to occur within a contract term, meaning if there's a delay with signature, which might happen, you cannot account for any cost that will happen before the signature. So really be careful with that one, and also plan that if there's a delay, that maybe there's still some buffer to plan your activities. So just to make that clear. Eligible costs are the remuneration for your company's own employees, fees for external experts, travel expenses, air tickets, cost of materials and equipment, cost of capital goods, and other costs. And in the next few slides, I give you an example for all of this. Ineligible costs, on the other hand, are, for example, sales and distribution costs, municipal trade tax, and also the cost of independent research and development. They are sadly not eligible in this type of contract. As I said before, please check the Annex 3 guidelines on cost eligible for reimbursement for an extensive list, because these were just examples that I gave. The extensive list you find in the Annex that you can download and that I will show you later on again. So coming to the eligible cost now. First of all, we're talking about remuneration for your own company's employees and personal cost. It is important to note that they are at prime cost level. So it's not necessarily market price, and it might be for external service providers, but it is at prime cost level. This means to account for that, we need an estimated daily rates and the CVs of all contracted staff. So, for example, your employee has an employer growth of 20,000 euros a year. His social security contributions account for 1,500 euros and the seasonal bonuses are 500 euros. Meaning your estimated daily rate for the employee would be 20,000 plus 1,500 plus 500, so 22,000 divided by 220 working days. For this would be like 1 year, means 100 euro per year. We really assume that any year has 220 working days. This is a tax reason, so please assume that per year you have 220 working days. As we use these annual figures, I please ask you to have in this course, since we are looking at an 18-month project, at most 330 working days that you account for. Additionally, please also include possible salary increases, as they cannot be raised retrospectively. So if you already know that in the period there might be a salary increase, please just account for it from the beginning onwards. Next part are the external service providers that are at market price level. Meaning there we can also have indirect cost included, and this means everything that you subcontract with external firms. For example, this covers trainers and facilitators for external workshops, for seminars, for training events. You can either put single experts, or you can also account for pool of experts. Both of that is possible. However, before you can actually put them in the final budget, you have to always account for 3 offers. Meaning, if you want to have any service provided to you, you will have to do a short tender, or a short list at least, to have 3 offers, and then you go for the most economical option. If there is a specific knowledge that one of the offers had that you need to have as well, that the others don't provide, however, it's more expensive, you can always write a justification for that. But we will need to see the offers at the accounting stage. Other external services that you can use would be production and printing of teaching information material, provision of consultancy services, and also transportation and logistic cost if it's not for a training, because the training costs are all coming in the other cost. So as I said before, the external service providers need to be agreed with us, and the 3 offers need to be handed in. Next part would be travel expenses and air tickets. So you are eligible to account for the maximum rates for tax purposes, but you should not exceed the GIZ lump sum standard rates in the respective countries. So there is for each country a list of maximum lump sum rates. And if you want to know them, we can provide them to you upon request. So you know our email addresses. We will also give them to you later again. So please just have a look at that before you account for your travel expenses. Another important point is that we only account for economy class air tickets that are eligible. There's no premium economy and also no business class. Rest assured, it's the same for us. It's not just that we give you the directive, we also follow it ourselves. So yes, this is a reason why we deal with public money. We have to account for economic reasons. Next one is a bit more tricky. This is the equipment part. So in total, which is important, the equipment cost should not exceed 30% of the budget, and a total absolute sum as a GIZ part of 50,000 euros. This would really be the maximum that we can account for. We need approval from our side for agrochemicals, for example, pesticides, and also for medicine. In the agricultural sector, since pesticides might be used, we always will need an approval from our side for that. No land or buildings can be procured fully in this contract. You can account for parts of it, but you cannot have a fully land acquisition or something like that. Then we have different options how to account for the equipment. So first of all, you can have your full cost eligible in the 18-month period if you afterwards hand it over to a public benefit or a public sector organization at the end of the project. So for example, you can hand it over to cooperatives in your area. And then you can really have the full cost eligible in the budget. We need to have the name of that organization, though, at latest at the contracting stage, because the name will be put in the contract and we will also have a handing over then. If you want to have the equipment remain in your company, then we can account for the depreciation in the contract time. Meaning 18 months of depreciation rates might be eligible for reimbursement. If you already own the equipment and you want to use it for the project, we can also account for that. So we would estimate an amortization rate during the contract period, and this rate can then also be included. This is also something that is kind of an in-kind. You can give something in kind to the project because you already have the equipment, and then we account for parts of the depreciation with this project. So this is also something, in-kind contribution. That's the word I was looking for, so sorry. And then finally, as we are also dealing with livestock, if you want to procure livestock, it is possible. However, you really need to give us an explanation in detail how you guarantee the animal welfare in the project. Since we are dealing again public funds, we really need to make sure that they will be kept well. And then when you come to capital goods, we can only say only the depreciation during the contract term is eligible for reimbursement. So really big capital goods we would not normally cover in this setup. For example, we will say we buy a maize processing machine and the price would be 10,000 euros and it is purchased during the project phase. It will also be used 100% for the project. You can also use it not for 100%, but then we also account for less than 100%. The amortization period would be 5 years. This is the normal amortization period we assume for most of the equipment in all cases. The only exception for that are IT goods, as IT goods only have 3 years amortization period. So there the rates are also higher. A 5-year amortization period gives you a depreciation rate of 20%. So that means for 10,000, if we had a 2-year project for 10,000 euros each year until the project ends, 2,000 euros can be reported under other cost. This is how it will work. This is how you can plan for the cost here. Finally, we're coming to other costs that include also training costs, meaning if you want to have a training accommodation, you want to have the transport, you want to have printing costs for material, you put all of that in detail under the training cost. And all costs related to training for smallholder farmers will be included there. Also, everything that is concerning pilot tests or demo plots will also be included in other costs. What I said before, what is very important, we have to account for 2 audits in the project period, so please account for that as well in the preliminary planning, and it should be a maximum of 3,500 euros per audit. And finally, all project-related operating costs, for example, the office rent, can also be accounted for in the other cost. There again, if you're renting a room fully for the project team, basically, you can account for that room for 100%. In other cases, please look at the percentage that you're using it for. So finally, coming to the eligible cost. As a general information, budget lines may be exceeded by a maximum of 10% and at most 2,500 euro. Then we don't need a contract amendment. So the total budget, though, needs to be the same. If we change the budget more than 10% or 2,500 euros, we will have to go for a contract amendment. With this contract amendment, though, also new budget lines may be added during the course of the project. However, I just keep you aware, usually contract amendments take a bit of time, so it is always good to plan very, very well in the beginning to avoid as much a contract amended as possible. And then finally, there's an obligatory semi-annual reporting of costs to GIZ in order also to receive the next payments. And before I close and before I show you the next steps that we would have in our readiness program, I just wanted to quickly show you our website again to show you where you can actually find everything. So we have 2 websites currently that are open. The one is the Agri-Business facility website where you can find the funding, and I hope that one of my colleagues supports me with the link in the chat as well. And the other one is the cashew website, where especially for the cashew sector, everything is included here. However, you will find the same documents on both websites. And then when you find, for example, have a look now at the ABF website, you will see here which value chains are tackled here. And you have a lot of information. You'll find the video that I showed in the beginning of this call again. And right here, you'll find already all the downloads. So what I said before, please read the guidelines of the matching grant fund that we have uploaded, because they are basically the Bible of this whole endeavor, and every information you need will be found in these guidelines. The next one would be the concept note template, where you can also find the budget list for now in. Please hand this one in. This is absolutely necessary, as well as the letter of intent. There we also definitely need something between your consortium partners signed that you are intending to work together on this project. Additionally, which is not on the website because we cannot provide it to you, we need your legal registration, please. Afterwards, you can find the Annex 3, the guidelines on cost eligible. So basically everything that I have just explained to you, you can find in text form here. You find Annex 4, the working aid. That is the Excel template that I've shown you that you don't have to hand in. However, you can if you want to. And then you find a list of countries with projects from previous calls, which is important since there are some countries where we put kind of more focus on. However, everyone is still really open to apply here. So every country out of OACPS is open to apply, and we will look at all the projects and the highest quality will go through. So please be assured of that. And then you can also watch the already existing webinars here that are uploaded. And the same will happen to this webinar here. So everything that I've just said will be uploaded here so you can have another look at it. And then please also the presentations you can find here and all other things that might be interesting for your concept note at this point. You find the timeline here again, and finally also who can apply. So please have a close look here. I can only assure you, like everything you need to know, you find on either our website or the cashew website, and the documents will be exactly the same that you download. So either or, you can use both for the downloads for this call. And then to just give a bit of advertisement, we will have still our readiness program ongoing. So there are still 2 more webinars that will come next week, one for gender and one for climate. Gender will be on the 16th of July and climate on the 18th July, also both available in English and in French. And you can go to either the QR codes that you can see here, or you can also find them on the website, as you found this webinar as well. And if there are any questions, please feel free to contact us either via abf-fund@giz.de or at cashew@giz.de. You can reach us, you can ask any question, we will be there and answer very diligently all questions that are coming in. And yes, generally I can also only urge you to apply for this call, and we're looking forward to your application. And thank you very much for your attention. And with that one, I would give the word back to our moderator. I'm not quite sure if Caleb will continue or Olivia, but I'll definitely give the word back. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much, Anya, for the presentation. I will hand over to my co-moderator, Olivia.
Thank you very much, Caleb, and thank you also, Anya, for the very detailed presentation you have walked us through this afternoon. My name is Olivia Rabner-Bennett. I work with the GIZ Move project, and I will continue the moderation from this side. We are getting into the Q&A session now, and I still want to emphasize that the session is being recorded. And so if you're not very comfortable to speak through your microphone, you might as well just drop a question in the chat. Otherwise, please use the raise hand button and I will call you to ask your question. Thank you. If you have any question, please raise your hand and I will give you the opportunity. Thank you.
We also know that it's a lot of information at once. So if you rather go through and ask your questions later on, as I said, please reach out via email. We're always happy to support there.
Yeah.
We had the same situation in the French one this morning as well. So it's
Absolutely.
a bit overwhelming.
Yeah. So great. I can already see Ellen's hand up. Maybe I'll take Ellen, and then if there are subsequent questions, I'll invite the person. Please go ahead, Ellen. Kindly unmute and then ask.
Sorry, thank you, Olivia. Sorry, this might be a stupid question, so please excuse me if it is, but if I don't ask, then I won't get the answer. So we are dryland farming in Botswana. I would be interested in finding out if this fund would cover something like putting down more boreholes and looking at installing a center pivot. Is that something that this fund would cover? Or are you looking at more producing and packaging sort of scenarios.
Thank you very much, Ellen. And just to say that it's an important question and we are open to answer it very well for you. I see also the hand of Katie. I hope I got your name right, but please unmute and go ahead. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Benny. This is Kate from Northeast Foods in Malawi. We work with smallholder farmers in both livestock and crop value chains, and mostly maize production as well. So I wanted to find out to say for this call, is it possible to do a concept that covers both maize and the livestock value chains in one concept note for the smallholder cooperatives that we work with? Is that allowable, or we have to choose one value chain? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Please mute yourself after asking your questions. Anya will take the questions. If there is the need for other colleagues also to come in, please, we will invite them as well. Thank you. Anya?
Thank you very much. I will first come to the second question because it's very easy to answer. Yes, you can come up with concept notes for both value chains at one. We will classify it, I would say, with one leading value chain. However, both can be covered in one concept note and you don't have to send two. So yes, please come in with that one. We had this in the first call as well. For the other question of Ellen regarding the boreholes in the central pivot, generally this is possible if it is part of the project. So it's not the main focus of the project to just come up with that one, but you have other goals that you will fulfill with the project, you can come in and then we can also have a look at how to finance that part. So generally possible. If you, for example, use external service providers to do it, we can definitely come up with covering parts of it. So yes, it depends though in the end on the full concept, of course, but generally it should be possible. And no stupid questions, don't worry.
Thank you very much, Anya. Ellen and Katie, please, you can put down your hand, unless, of course, you have other questions. Otherwise, we'll take other. Yeah. And Katie? Yeah. Thank you very much. I do not see any hand up. I still want to check if there are questions. If it's also about the recording that you are not comfortable, please put your question in the chat. And I see Elizabeth. Please. Yeah.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much. My name is Elizabeth Nkwaze from Food Kings Limited, Malawi. We are already in a consortium with 9 more companies. So we're like 10 companies. So I wanted to find out the consortium, we're dealing with the maize value chain to process maize flour. So I wanted to find out, do we have to find another company to be in partnership with, or we can apply as a consortium just as we are? Thank you.
Anya, welcome. Anya, there is another hand, so maybe we take the two and then you can answer together if it's okay. Very well. So Obina, please go ahead.
Okay, I'm Obina Ijere from Enugu State, Nigeria. I'm working on the cashew value chain processing segment. And I want to ask a question concerning the consortium. Can one go incorporate government agencies as members of consortium, especially those of them that have, roles to play to make the project a success? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Obina. Over to you, Anya.
Thank you very much. So for the first question regarding if a consortium can apply, if it's already a consortium, if they have to find another partner, if you are registered at the consortium level, or if one of you is registered as a private company and legally registered at that, we don't need anyone else to come in. If you apply as a consortium like that, that is already formalized, this is fine. We just have to have the lead applicant as a private entity. This would be important to note. If this is possible for you, you don't need to look for somebody else if you already have 10 companies in your consortium. So yes, this is possible. The other question would be regarding government agencies as member of consortium. And yes, as long as they are not the lead applicant, this is possible. As you've said correctly, they would have to contribute to the success of the project, and they would also have to come in with some contribution. This would be very important. But yes, they can definitely also come in a consortium. If you allow, Olivia, I saw a question in the chat that I would take quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Yeah. So the tender for the various service providers does not have to be done now at concept note stage. It would rather be done at the contracting stage. So don't worry about it now. Just have something in mind that you would like to give out, and then you can come in at the contracting stage for it.
Thank you very much, Anya. I think that is the only question in the chat. I haven't seen any hand up yet. We still have a few minutes to go. And so I want to encourage that you ask your questions now. Otherwise, you can also send an email directly to us via the emails that Anya has already shared. And we can also put it in the chat so that you can pick these emails directly. See a comment now in the chat. We are a South African aggregating company that just incorporated in about 3 African countries. Will the newly incorporated companies qualify to apply alongside smallholder farmers we are working with in those countries, or the parent company in South Africa apply? Anya?
We have, interestingly enough, a very similar case in the current call. So South Africa is sadly not part of OACPS. Therefore, it is a bit complicated. However, if your implementation fully takes place in OACPS country via the other newly incorporated companies, then it is possible that we can do it like this, that you would actually apply as your parent company. Because to be very open here, to get a contract with GIZ, you have to fulfill also commercial eligibility checks, and newly incorporated companies might struggle more to fulfill these criteria than longer existing companies. It is still possible. I do not want to discourage anyone, but if you have a parent company that is longer existing already, I would say that please make it very obvious that you will actually make the implementation in OACPS countries, and then afterwards we can also give a contract to a South African parent company.
Thank you very much, Anya. I think I do not see any hand up. Sorry. I'm not sure if someone wants to speak. Okay. I think there is another one in the chat. Do we have to apply for value chains that we are already operating in, or we can? Sorry, can you please mute yourself if you? Okay, thank you very much. So, which is, do we have to apply for value chains that we already operating in, or we can also take up new value chains? Or a new value chain. We are already operational and are working with smallholder farmers in cooperatives. So this is for yeah.
Yep. You can take up new value chains. To inform you, we will evaluate your experience in the value chain a bit. So it is a bit of the percentage of the evaluation criteria. However, it is not eligibility criteria, meaning it might count for a few points if you have no experience in the value chain so far, but you can still apply also for a new value chain that you like to work in. So it is possible.
Thank you very much, Anya. I do not see any more comments or questions. Maybe we can give ourselves about 1 or 2 minutes if, okay, now Elizabeth is back. So, sure, Elizabeth, please.
Thank you. Just an extension to the previous question that we read in the comments. So does it mean the new value chain has to be within those, the value chains that you're targeting, the cashew, coffee, and maize and livestock only, not anything outside that?
Instead of coffee, cocoa, but yes, exactly. It has to be in the value chains that we are naming here. So it's specific for these value chains. The only thing that can happen is if you work in those value chains and you also work with something else, but that comes basically as a support or a byproduct, then we can also work with other value chains, but the main operation should be in the cashew, cocoa, maize, or livestock value chain. And livestock specifically cattle, goats, and sheep. That might also be an important point.
Great. Thank you very much, Anya. And thank you, Elizabeth, also for asking all the questions. You can still come in if you are not clear. And I think there is something in the chat. Okay, that's thank you. Yeah. So I do not see any more comments or hands up. I want to say a very big thank you to you, Anya, for the great presentation this afternoon, and also sharing all the relevant documents and navigating on the website for everyone to see how it's going to be done on their own. Thank you and well done, Anya. Thank you to you, Caleb, as well for taking the first part of the moderation. A very big thank you to you all for joining this afternoon's webinar. Really, it's been a pleasure having you all on the call. We really hope that you can easily find your way around the process. Otherwise, please send in your questions or your comments directly to the emails that we have shared. The presentations will also be uploaded on our websites for you to easily refer at any point in time. Once again, thank you very much and do have a very good weekend. Bye.
Thank you. A good weekend from my side as well. Bye-bye. Looking forward to seeing your concepts.